Hello friends, here we go with another episode of Roman Roads from the Air. We continue in Aragon. On this occasion we are going to deal with a road that was built back in the early days of our era, between Zaragoza and France, through the French Bearn region. It's described in the Antonine Itinerary, we'll talk about that later. You see the route that it took, it passed through this line that you see drawn in red, through the current Ejea de los Caballeros, and had a huge straight alignment of about 18 kilometers in length that we are going to deal with from the air, because it can be seen in a spectacular way. Indeed, this road continued through what is called the Canal de Bearn in Aragón, passing through Ejea and crossing the Somport towards France. It is described in a book that you can look for. There are very few remains of it, just 4 pieces as you can see, very damaged foundations. Marginal remains next to the current road, by the town of Castelliscar and Sodaba, something also in the Campo Real area, which are the limits with Navarra. Some small piece because, the rest, has been erased by irrigation and agriculture. These very small remains have let us know what the typical section of this road was like, allowing us to draw it, which is what it is observed. Some thick foundation stones with some natural gravel that are not from that area of the land, as it usually happens. There are still foundations in the Ejea reservoir, especially when the level drops in very dry years. You can see the Roman road reaching Ardieta, as you can see, with a foundation and curbs still aligned. Being washed now you can have a proper look, when the water levels are down. In the background you can see Termes, which was also a Roman city, a thermal establishment. And, indeed, it also has milestones, many milestones. This is one of the Roman roads that has preserved the most milestones in Spain and even from the founding moments. They allude to the legions, like this one, that founded Caesar Augusta, because they were the ones who managed the construction of the Roman road. Don't think that the legionnaires physically built the Roman roads, you can see other videos where I talk about this. I bring you a few milestones because there are many, some of them broken into pieces, but there are many ones well preserved. It is one of the areas of Spain that preserves the most milestones. You see, now from the ground, when you get on the route of this Roman road, you can see some very long old ditches that are clogged, where the cereal grows more powerfully, because they have more depth, more slime. And at the moment that the Roman road has been carved, that you have it there to the right of this ditch exactly, the ditch stands out. From the air this is spectacular. You see that it had a huge straight alignment between Ejea, which is to the south, and Los Bañales, a Roman city, which we will talk about later, which is to the north. In the American flight of the year 1956, the entire Roman road can be seen perfectly, part carved and part still preserved, with an astonishing straight alignment of 18 kilometers, probably one of the largest in Spain and also in the Iberian Peninsula. Look, from the air, at a proper time of the year, when the cereal can reveal this Roman road, the gutters and part of the stone materials that still make the cereal grow with difficulty in some places. You are going to see from this flight the entire lineup that we have seen before in the American flight, perfectly visible, but in this case from this year 2022. From the air it is able to give itself away and show that impressive, very long straight line, very difficult to fly due to its length, because the autonomies of the aircraft are not always adequate for these lengths. And you see how you can recreate yourself in these flights on this Roman road. The Roman road that connected Zaragoza, the old Caesar Augusta, with France, as can still be seen from the air and the crops, on the flat lands of the municipality of Biota, which is there on the right, and in the background, there is the Roman city of Los Bañales, a city whose ancient name, its Roman name, it is not really known, but which is being excavated. It has been running for many summer campaigns, many years, and little by little it is being cleaned up and new areas of the city are coming to light. It will surely last for many years. There is another city further up this Roman road, in a town called Somport, which will also require its excavation campaigns. And, of course, if it were ever possible to excavate the largest, the most powerful one that seems to have in this area, which is the one in the place of Campo Real, on the borders of Aragón and Navarra. You can see how Los Bañales is the site that is there in the background, but we will see it later in more detail. We are going to turn 180 degrees and go in the other direction for a while. In the background, on the horizon, would be Ejea de los Caballeros, which in Roman times seems to have been called practically the same. You can see here how, again in the opposite direction, when the occasion is propitious, the layout and trace of the Roman road can be seen with impressive straightness. Those who did this work were good engineers, good surveyors. It is very difficult to make such a straight alignment, confirmed today in the orthophotos, both from the American flight and in the current ones, to be of impressive straightness. Very difficult to make for a surveyor, because there are many kilometers. You still see it, ignoring the crops, ignoring the boundaries, ignoring the current roads, which are logically modern, those of the land concentration, which completely ignored that there was a Roman road, since part existed and part did not. And, in fact, until recently, until 2008, It was not known that this was the Roman road that went from Ejea to Los Bañales. This section of the famous Caesar Augusta to Bearn that I am going to show you on another flight, from another less propitious time, earlier, still winter, where the footprint is a little showed. As you can see, it is still incipient in the almost newly tilled land. Some of the farms are newly tilled. You see how here it is already much better to distinguish what is stone from what is gutter, because one of them is whiter and the other one is darker, and, in the areas where the crop has already grown, the trace is still visible a little. It is the same as we have seen before, but at a different time of year. If one really chooses the right time of year, the footprint is formidable, as we have seen before. And this is the city of Los Bañales that is currently being excavated. As I say, it has been many years since excavation began, probably 15 years ago. Here you can see what the upper part looks like, the old part, in the foreground, which is the Castro, then below, the Forum, that has been excavated, the baths in the background, on the right a more modern building that is a hermitage that is there, the hermitage of the Virgen de Los Bañales. Los Bañales are so called because the building of the hot springs was preserved and, although very dilapidated, it was known that they were old baths. That is why this site is called Los Bañales. Here you see a larger part that has been recently cleaned. An archaeological intervention had been carried out here many years ago, probably 80 years, but it has recently been cleaned and right now you can visit it and you can see an important site, of a good magnitude, which invites the visitor to see details that otherwise are not seen. When this is clean it's nice to go and see it. Even there are usually visitors, as you can see down there. It is curious, because here, as in all ancient Roman cities, what is preserved is exactly what was left by the last ones who lived there, who do not have to be high imperial, precisely. This city has had a very long life. It has had a life in the empire, it has had a life in late antiquity, and it has also had a life in Muslim times. Some Muslim vestiges have been found in the upper part, having been some type of habitat there. As you can see, it is very curious because in one of these streets there are remains of the life of the city, of the chariot tracks, of the chariots that rolled through there. Probably in this case they are very old, from Roman times. There are also some drainage lines in some slabs, which are not very clear if it was a kind of wine press, or what it could be. Well, here you see a terrestrial view to show a little bit of the site, already in detail, of the baths, of the building of the baths, which, as you can see, in its upper part has already been rebuilt a few years ago. This would be the interior with the niches, where the users of the baths left their ointments and their belongings, the towel or whatever they carried. They are the classic lockers that we have today in gyms or wherever. A mausoleum, the mausoleum of the Atilios with some very interesting epigraphs on top. And a hydraulic system that I have the impression that it has several eras, because this is a channel carved into the rock in which there was probably a pipe inside, that does not have a leveling so that the water goes through there directly. And some bollards with an old structure, an old factory, but rare as an imperial Roman. It is probable that there was a siphon there, surely also made of pipe and later in late antiquity, when the pipe disappeared, because it was stolen in any conflict, surely, they had to make this type of bollard to support another type of wooden channel or pipe. We don't know if it was made of wood or what, on top of the bollards. At a time when lead was already very difficult to obtain and extremely scarce. It was a very precious commodity and during wars it was stolen very easily. This is what has been preserved, the bollards that supported the last pipe that brought water to Los Bañales. Well, this is a bit of the story that I wanted to bring you here today and the Roman road that still preserves, as you can see, a spectacular alignment, straight, of many kilometers. Logically, there are no longer the 18 kilometers of the perfect straight line between Ejea and Los Bañales. There are fewer kilometers that can be seen from the air, in its perfect footprint, but they are spectacular enough to see and I have loved bringing my own filmed videos to you, because I don't want to keep them to myself. That's what we're here for. Well friends, until next time we see each other, greetings.